everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be making this delicious bamia okra. So first we're just gonna chop up all of our yellow onions. I'm gonna show you two quick ways of doing this. Typical, just trim off the edges really quickly, slice it down the middle, and then peel them. Now when it comes to chopping, a nice small dice will be perfect for this dish. If you have some good control, you can do it in this way. If you don't, the other option is to leave a little bit of the ends. So I'll demonstrate that a little bit more closely right now. So you want to only cut through about 3/4 of the way in. So notice I'm not going all the way there to the end. So now you'll be able to grab onto the onion from the part that isn't sliced through, and you'll have more control. So dicing this way for beginners is a lot better. Sometimes I do it too. And then the last bit you can just dice up separately. All right, next we're gonna chop up our green pepper. This is called bibar in Arabic, or at least that's what we call it in my dialect. Make sure you core it out, and then we'll do a similar size. So I find the best way to do that is to cut it lengthwise and then dice it up. If you are considering switching up the green bell pepper for an orange or a yellow one, I don't recommend that. They do have different flavors, and for this bamia okra dish, the green one is the flavor that you want to go for. So dice that all up. One large pepper is more than enough. And then I'm gonna dice up the tomatoes. You don't want to remove the seeds or the pulp. That juiciness is perfect for this okra dish. So go ahead and do that. I put about 2 cups of tomato. It will also depend on how much okra you're making. All right, so we're gonna start with some olive oil. You don't want to swap this out for vegetable oil because olive oil is what gives this okra dish a beautiful flavor. So we're gonna saute these together. Make sure you give it a good stir every so often until it looks like this. So you can see that the onions are beautifully caramelized. The peppers are starting to caramelize, but they do take a little bit longer, but that's perfectly fine. At this point, we can add some green chili peppers. I don't like a lot of spice, so I don't cut these open. If you do want more spice, cut them open and the seeds will come out. And then we'll add our tomatoes. Notice how they're a bigger dice than some of the onions, but that's totally fine because they will cook down, they will shrink, they will wilt. That's all good to go. And a lot of garlic. This is a garlicky dish. Garlic is delicious. Make sure you try and use fresh garlic. I used about, I would say, 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons. Make sure you're incorporating everything very, very well. And this stage will take a little bit of a while. Stir it every so often and make sure that your tomatoes are wilting. Some tomato paste. This is a heaping teaspoon. That to about 1/2 tablespoon is great. This will give you a nice depth of flavor, and make sure you incorporate that in really well. At this point, we want to add our dry spices, seasoning al-baharat. So first I will be adding some dried coriander. This is dried and ground, which is kabzana nashfa mathuna. And then I will add some kamon, which is cumin. And the amounts depend on how much okra you're making. I did about 1 teaspoon of each. And then 1.5 teaspoons of salt. If you don't want to add a lot of salt, taste and adjust the seasoning. Make sure you incorporate that really well, and don't forget some black pepper. So milh و filfil is very important. All right, so it's been cooking down for a while. You can see everything has dried out. So I'm gonna add a little bit of water just to return some moisture in there because I want the green peppers to cook down even further. Now, I want to show you the difference between these large okra that you will easily find in your local American grocery store and then these smaller okra. Now, these smaller ones are what I find in the frozen section of the Middle Eastern grocery stores. I find that the smaller ones result in a more plump, juicy okra dish, and you can see huge difference. So if you can get your hands on the smaller ones, I highly recommend it. All right, so at this point, I just dump it into the tomato-based mixture and crush it up with a spoon. It's completely fine that it's frozen. I actually prefer adding in the okra when it's frozen. I don't recommend thawing it or anything. Just gently crush it. You don't want to smush them, but just crush it enough so that you can gently incorporate it into the tomato mixture. Just gonna speed this up pretty quick. I was again being gentle because we don't want to smash them. You want to keep the okra pieces intact. After that, to add additional moisture, I'm gonna be using chicken stock. Now, if you're vegetarian or vegan, you can add vegetable broth, or just water will work perfectly fine. In terms of amount, I put about 1.5 cups. Again, it depends on how many bags of okra you're doing. So cover that up, let it steam for about, I would say 25 minutes or less. If you're doing only one bag, it may just need 15 to 20 minutes. At this point, the okra will be very fragile. So notice I'm very gently mixing it from the bottom of the bowl up towards the top. So make sure you don't crush them. Now I'm adding some fresh cilantro. This is towards the end because we do want the cilantro to really get incorporated, but we don't want it to completely disappear. You want that fresh element well incorporated into your dish. All right, it is looking really good. So I'm just gonna let it bubble maybe another 5 to 10 minutes. At this point, it really depends if you're gonna serve it right away or if you're gonna leave it. Since I won't be serving it until later tonight for a few hours, I'm not gonna let it sit for the whole 10 minutes. I'm just gonna turn it off, and before I serve it, I'll bring it back up to a boil again, and then I'll have the perfect consistency. This refrigerates really well, microwaves really well. I think you'll really enjoy it. So before you serve, make sure that you are tasting it. I like to do this with a piece of bread, and you will know if you need to adjust anything in terms of seasoning, the salt, the pepper, the cumin. Luckily, mine tasted perfect, so I didn't need to adjust anything. All right, before serving, remove the green peppers. Like I said, for me, I just add it for flavor. I'm not really looking for something very spicy. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. And please remember to subscribe, thumbs up, and comment below if you have any questions or suggestions.